Ladies and gentlemen, this is the Dental Up Podcast, brought to you by Keating Dental Arts, a full-service, award-winning dental laboratory. Each week, you'll learn tips and techniques from real-world dentists, bringing you in-depth interviews, motivating stories, current events, and sports. Here's your host, Sean Keating.
Hey everyone, Sean here. Welcome to another episode of the Dental Up Podcast, brought to you by Keating Dental Arts. My guest this week is a published author of the TMJ, the Self-Help Program book, a comprehensive guide specializing in the treatment of tempo-romandibular disorders. He is a graduate of the New York University Dental School and has been honored as a fellow of the Academy of General Dentistry. Practicing from La Jolla, California, please welcome Dr. John J. Taddy, DDS, FAGD. How's it going, Dr. Taddy?
Oh, it's going real nice, Sean. Nice to talk to you this morning.
Thank you so much, man. I know how busy you are, and you and your daughter got a smoking hot practice down the street from us in La Jolla, California, man. It's paradise where you're at, man. I love your office, and I just love you and your daughter, man. You guys are just crushing it. But, dude, thank you so much for coming on, and you're a smart dude, and I love talking with you whenever you come to my lab. You come to a lot of our over-the-shoulder programs, you and your daughter, and so I was real excited to get you on board. I've done your daughter on the podcast about several months back. We did one, and she's just a spark full of energy. I just love your daughter, man. She's so cool.
Oh, yeah, she always is, and those over-the-shoulder programs were terrific. For her.
She really did grasp a lot. Yeah, she takes it right back, and she's implementing. Heck, I think we just did like a big full upper and lower full rehab, and I think it was like on your brother, or was it a relative or something?
That one was on my brother, but she's got a few of them under her belt, and they all come out beautiful. Yeah. I mean, the coordination you guys have with wax-ups and things like that for prejudgment and pre-treatment evaluations really worked out well in her system of doing this. Yeah. She did that in 3 visits.
Can you believe
over
that?
3 weeks.
Dude, and it looks so good. I mean, I'm just looking at all the caries on the befores and just the margins, and some of the older PFMs you could tell the dude had in his mouth from way back in the day. I mean, it's just, you can tell through the years how porcelain has evolved, especially PFMs. But when she cleaned them all up, we went through everything, and then the afters, and we did the Bruxer aesthetic on this, all monolithic, man, with no cutback, no layer, just straight monolithic, my aesthetic. And they look better than most EMAX. I mean, it's just a crazy freaking thing how that monolithic, man, is just blends in the oral environment. So nice. But what a great, I mean, just all the margins sealed up. I mean, tissues looking much more healthier and everything on the after photos. But, man, that was just a huge case. Yeah, Bob Brandon came in and goes, yeah, Sean, remember that case for Dr. Taddy? And I go, about a week ago, I remember that. And I pulled it up again, and look at that, man. That's on your brother. Yeah. That's so cool.
Yeah, and that was, he worked on Wall Street, so you can tell the tension that he had more of those down so much. Actually, I was, in looking at his case over the years, I was afraid to tackle it myself.
No kidding.
Because of the wear and tear on those lowers, trying to get enough retention and things.
Yeah.
And over the years, I was afraid because of the limitations of the materials.
Yes.
But now with the newer materials, he's not going to break them. And I was concerned, with PFGs.
Oh, yeah.
They would never lasted.
Or anything all ceramic is like most of the dentists didn't even want to get on board of those until recent years, after several years in the mouth. They've been gun shy, and I've been doing this a long time too, with all these, glass ceramics, lithium silicate ceramics. I mean, this zirconia, man, I mean, it's just the real deal. And we've taken that variable of breakage out of our problems, and so now we're just fighting that for beautiful aesthetics and beautiful function, and it's been a great thing with this new material, man. Yeah, they got Warren Dentition. I know Spear has a great course on that too, and it's just how to treatment plan it is so important, but then to get the proper materials in the mouth nowadays, it's so much better with what we have to be able to put in people's mouths. It's like, oh, you look at this guy, he's like, he was a grinder, and he you could tell he had some occlusion issues and stuff like that, but we balanced everything out, and this guy's gonna be fine, man. That's so cool. That's awesome.
Yeah, it was ideal case. It came out really very nice, and she's proud of that one.
Yeah, she should be, man. She's come so far, and she's knocking it out, man.
Yeah, we have a whole quite a number of them on our website now, and and quite a few of them you have done.
That's beautiful, baby. Love to hear it,
look
man.
Great.
That's so cool. Well, hey, I always start off a little bit talking a little bit about sports, man. This basketball, man. These Celtics, that LeBron James, man. They won the Eastern Conference again. They swept, and they freaking swept the Toronto Raptors. And gosh, the series before they went to Game 7, with Indiana, and I really think Indiana should have won that. And that Indiana's a great team, but those guys got them. LeBron and his guys came back on that, won that 7th game, and then they swept the Raptors. So they're going to be playing for the championship again. And it's like, the Celtics are up 3-1 over the 76ers. The 76ers won last night, but it's going to be the Celtics against the Cavaliers again, and then we got the Jazz down 3-1 on the Western Conference with the Rockets are kicking butt, but they're up 3-1. So, and then the Pelicans are at the Warriors, and the Warriors are up 3-1. So it's going to be the Warriors against the Rockets again. Warriors will probably win. It's going to be the Celtics against the Boston again, and the Cleveland's going to beat the Celtics again, and you're going to have Cleveland against Golden State. And Golden State's going to whoop them again. And then LeBron's leaving Cleveland. He's going to come to the Lakers, baby. And then we're going to win him here.
Right.
Yeah, right. I doubt it. We'll see. But, it's kind of amazing there. And look, baseball, I'm going to take Mama. Our boys are Mother's Day is coming up. So we're going to go to an Angel game on Sunday. That'll be good for take her out there in the sunshine and Anaheim Stadium, and so we're excited about the Angels. Go see Mike Trout. He's ripping it up like always, batting 400, doing great. But so I'm ready for football. Come back. You a football fan? You a big Charger fan or no?
No, not really. I wasn't when they were down here, and it's amazing. I tell you what's amazing. You don't hear much about the Chargers down here after they left.
Yeah.
I mean, for all the rabid sports fans we had with the Chargers, you would think there'd be a heck of a lot more activity and things, but it's a surprising. It surprised me.
Yeah. My brother-in-law, Shannon, my wife's brother, lives down there, and they're such big fans. And, the whole little towns, he lives like over in Oceanside, but every little neighborhood, they really were big-time Charger fans. But yet every time you guys voted for a stadium or something, you guys never voted it, and that's I see that, they don't want to pay for it, but at the end of the day, you guys had a team, and if you came together, were such fans, you could have voted it in and did whatever you needed to do to keep them, but no one really wanted to step up, and look at I don't think the fans realized, this guy's going to bolt, and he did, and it's too bad, but it's just San Diego's such a vibrant town.
I think we did know he was going to bolt from us. Yeah, the deals that they were trying to do down here were all kinds of shenanigan things that didn't make sense taxpayer-wise. Yeah. And like I said, what surprised me, though, is that I would have thought that there would have been a lot more remorse about them leaving than I've noticed.
Yeah.
But remember, I wasn't a big football fan, so.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's just, I'm sure there's a sour taste in their mouth, and especially to watch them last year and, to watch them going forward. They didn't do that great last year, so I'm sure a lot of the fans were kind of happy. But X fans or who knows. I just know we didn't have a team for the last 20 plus years, and we all put our hearts on the San Diego Chargers, and no matter what, man, there'd be 13-3 or 14-2 every season. They did great, but then in the playoffs they couldn't get past the first or second round over and over, and it's just like they let you down every year. And it's just like, I remember back in '95 they were in the Super Bowl and I was coaching my kids, and we were the Chargers, Irvine Chargers, and we just loved them, and Stan Humphries and all the guys back in the day. But it
was a lot of fun.
It was, but then it's just, unless you can get up there and win the big one, it's hard. But I love football.
To be honest with you, I don't know that much about sports, but from what I know, I don't think we ever had a shot down here on keeping him, because as soon as he moved up to LA, I think his team was worth how many more millions or billions?
Yeah, it doubled. It went from
it's a business choice.
Yeah. And to think that, dude, they buy these teams for like $50 million or $30 million back in the day, and now they're worth, I think the minimum is like $1.5 billion. It's just so nuts how that works. And even too, like with real estate, you just see the guys that get mega rich that they just happen to buy some apartment buildings at the time, or just different guys like Lakers dude, Dr. Buss. He got rich off of real estate, and the same thing I think with the Spanos guy out in San Diego.
Oh yeah, he made his money in Sacramento. Sacramento, and in
was it
somewhere else in Northern California?
And real estate though. I think it was real estate.
Real estate and business, yeah.
Can you believe that?
Yeah, the father did.
Yeah. We were lucky to buy our first home, and, back in the day to get enough money down. But it's just like, same thing with the guy that bought the Angels. He bought it for like not even $100 million or $80 million. And Artie Marino, man, and he made all his money on billboards, believe it or not. Yeah. He bought billboards, and now the dude's like, he bought it for like $80 million. Now it's worth $2 billion or something ridiculous. Yeah. And that's just, it's kind of crazy.
You can't blame them for moving the Chargers. I mean, it's a business.
Yeah.
And just like you and I are businessmen, I mean, somebody's going to double the price of what you've got, and you got a lot of problems someplace.
Yeah.
Your value goes up. That's amazing incentive.
Absolutely. No. And I think it all started with that McCourt or whatever, that owned the Dodgers, and he got in a divorce with his wife, and they had to do the sale, and he cut her a certain amount like before the sale, and then he came in, and the Ballmer dude from Apple, he bought it for $1 billion more than the next. I mean, he, instead it was like worth like $1 billion, they're fighting. He goes, I'll give you $2 billion. I want it. And it's just so crazy that he overpaid, but he didn't. I mean, I heard that by the time he did that, he bought that, he left Apple after 25 years and has all sorts of stock and this and that, just hugely worth, like, I think he was worth like $12 billion at the time he left. Well, the time that the clearance came on buying the buying the Clippers, by the time that all passed through and everything, he had made $3 billion in profit just on his stock in the last 7 or 8 months. So everyone's saying, "Oh, you overpaid $2 billion." He overpaid like by $1 billion. But the dude just made when you make that much, it's like, hey. I don't know. I just think no tears for him for overpaying, because now I think he's worth $25 billion, and that was, from 3 years ago, he was only worth 12. It's just so nuts.
Truth of the matter, after you have a certain amount of money, there's not much you can do other than make yourself happy with the money or give it away and do some good work.
That's
whether you've got $1 billion or $10 billion, how many planes can you have?
Yeah.
Exactly.
So how many houses and how many Lambos and Ferraris or whatever, that stuff. I just think, I don't know. It's crazy.
I mean, time is the one thing we all have and that you can't improve much on.
Absolutely.
And money is just, whatever for them.
Yep. That is. It's nice having it, though. I remember when we didn't have it, and it's like you worry so much of your life on, God, if I had this, and then you get a little money, and it's just, you just have a responsibility. I think as people get richer, I think more and more you get responsible more. And I think, like you said, I almost find it better by giving. It's really neat to give back and certain people that need it. And be it if it's money or be it if it's your time or whatever, it's just nice to be that way because
you learn to appreciate it. You appreciate it when you've made it yourself.
Yeah. I always tell my boys, man, if you guys don't earn it, you'll never respect it. And that's why I work you guys hard. That's why you got to get in here at these times. And that's why you got to stay in and you got to put the effort in because, until you really earn it, you'll never respect it. And that's why, the silver spoon kids, they're not in my household. But I just think, like you see some of these guys with the billions and stuff, they're not leaving anything to the kids. They're like, no, we're going to put it into, he's like, and I'm like, why would they do that? But as I get older, it's like, those little kids, man, you guys better get it together because mama and papa ain't going to leave you nothing if you don't get your stuff together. We're going to be giving it to people that really need it and deserve it. And I don't know. It's weird how that thinks. Another 5-10 years, I'll change a little bit more probably, but that's as we get older, we get wiser, right?
I hope so.
I hope so. Well, dude, let's dental up, man. Now tell me, doctor, how did you get into dentistry and at what point did you think I want to be a dentist?
My father was a dentist.
Oh, you're kidding. I didn't know that. Oh, jeez.
Yeah, he graduated in the early 30s.
Oh, you're kidding. And, from New York also?
Yeah, from NYU.
Okay.
And so I grew up with him practicing, and back then you practiced. We lived in one apartment, and then we owned the house, and he practiced in that apartment in New York.
No kidding.
Another apartment in that little building there. And so I always grew up with it. And I knew I liked biology, and I liked the advantages of dentistry over medicine. So I went ahead and did it. And,
no kidding.
Happy I did.
No kidding. That's so neat. So you guys like 3 generations, man, with your daughter. Yeah. So the Taddy's been going strong, man. So how did that work when, tell me where you went to school then? You went to NYU?
Yeah, I went to NYU and I interned at Montefiore Hospital and Medical Center in New York City. And I taught there endo and restorative dentistry as an attending. And I opened a practice in New York. Practiced there for 5 years in New York City, and then moved out here to La Jolla.
No kidding. That's amazing, dude. So what about did you work with your dad a little bit, or did you work at his practice, or did you just open your own? Did you associate when you first got out? Tell me a little bit about that.
Well, times were a little different. I opened my own practice within his office.
Okay.
So we worked together for about 5 years, and I was able to see what he was doing and how he did it, and notice over the years how things have changed. So it's been an interesting experience. If you look at, I have 50 years doing this since I graduated in 68, but he was 30 years before that with all of their ways and techniques. So if you see the progression of changes that happened from the 1920s and 30s to where we are now, I mean, that's almost 100 years of change.
Absolutely.
And it's interesting, and it's been quite a great ride.
Oh, and I could see it in your eyes when just seeing the newer technologies that we were kind of showing here and some of the over the shoulders, but for you to see it all the way through with your dad practicing, how it changed with you and you put in 50, now your daughter, how it's evolving in the technology, wave a wand in the mouth, take an impression. I mean, you've seen the full gamut, like 100 years, man. That's crazy.
Really? I mean, you can start with acrylic veneers, and I mean acrylic veneers on over gold was the only aesthetic treatment, and that was pretty new back then.
No kidding.
And then the beginning of the PFGs, which started out as on a rocky road.
Yeah, oh yeah. They couldn't get that stuff to bond together, man. It was like eggshell, like doing a hard-boiled egg. Then they had those pin ledges. Remember the pin ledges?
Oh yeah. Oh, yeah, I've done those. Inlays. I haven't thought of those in a while.
No kidding. And then
the implants, when they first started, it was amazing. The dentists that got involved with that I always figured them like gunfighters in the West, the wild guys that just went out and did treatments and had their lawyers write up things so that they weren't responsible with. They were failing like crazy, and then they had a zillion different designs. From tripods and single steel
blades. Blade.
Remember?
Oh, jeez.
Linkhow's blades. Those were something else.
I remember in the 80s, even that, they were doing stuff at Loma Linda University. It was like just ahead of the times, but they were practicing. We were doing them back on like monkeys and monkeys' mouths and trying to get stuff to osteointegrate, and it's such a trip. And now it's pretty predictable, I mean, no bone, we could just graft that, and it's just pretty crazy how it's evolved, and the technology. Imagine, and you never know, 10, 20 years with your daughter, she's just going through it, and who knows with her children, if we get a fourth and fifth generation, the tatties are going to be rolling into the 22nd century, man.
Well, nobody knows what's going to come along, and we're not at the end of the road on technology by any means.
No.
And it's nice to have all the ceramic and all the recent changes you make with them.
Yep.
But no, it's another material.
Absolutely.
That's all it is. There'll be others.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. And but we won't be eager to jump on that bandwagon so quick. I mean, we're going to just really look at things as they come across, because you really can't reinvent the wheel in dentistry a little bit, I think a little bit new materials and stuff, but teeth are teeth, a prep's a prep. And I mean, until they got it to where, like, my brother's an endodontist, limited, he just practices endo only. And they had that stuff where they were talking about they could regrow your nerves or, regrow teeth. And can you imagine that? It's just like, let's just plant this like a little seed, like you're growing a tomato plant. But now we're going to grow a number 30 molar, man. And it's going to be there. It takes about 3 weeks to grow. But no, can you imagine that? Who knows?
That's going to, that may be the new thing. Instead of putting an implant in, they'll find some tooth from a lab, and you put it in and let it grow, and you'll have the tooth itself.
Exactly.
Sounds goofy, but that could easily be next.
Yeah. It's something that the lab man might be gone in the future, but you know what? If you give me another 20 years or so, I'll be fine with it. Let the kids worry about them. So, no, just kidding.
I remember labs when I first started. Labs were mostly dentures and partials, and they had some people who did crowns. Then it changed from that to other small labs, which some specialized in ceramic crowns. Not ceramic, but crowns involving porcelain.
Yes.
And then they were still small.
Yes.
Then we've gotten to a point now where a small lab, I don't think, can really survive well because of the investment you guys make in your machines and your technology. So it's difficult.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of changes.
It really is. It's just it's amazing how it's changed. I mean, it was so hard for me to do, because my hand skills weren't the greatest, and there's some guys that are so naturally talented, but to wax up a full contoured crown from nothing, from just a drop of wax, and to keep building those drops to where you can get a platform, and then you build up your buccal custling. Well, then you have to know all the function and lateral excursions, but just to build that contour was so tough. But then even to like metal occlusals, where we have occlusion of metal in the facial with porcelain, and how we wrap that. Is it including the buccal cusp or excluding the buccal cusp? But even too, just for copings for, porcelain application, just to wax those thimbles where you have to seal the margin, and then you're spruing this stuff, and it's a lost wax technique, and then you have to invest it. You pour like a cake mix around it, and then that burns out, and then you cast metal. It's just so old school, but it's the way we always did it. And in the last 10 years, now we can almost scan the model, and it'll, develop a full contour crown, or it can develop develop a coping that's 3/10 for porcelain application. But you can do that on a computer screen that helps you. And it's like, dang. It is just but you need to know function and everything else. You just can't get a guy off the street to do this stuff still. Some labs are doing that, and you can just see why they're not growing and why there's no one raving about them, because it's very, very average stuff, if that. But I just think it's, it's just such a more predictable quality type restoration when we can. Humans sometimes, hey, that margin's a little short on that wax up. Well, let's bring it up here and let's put some dilube on that dye stone, so the manager who's going to quality control it won't see that I shortened it. Or the computers don't lie, and not that my people do, or techs sometimes. When you're working on cases, and something goes awry in a distal buccal margin area, it's like, nowadays you can go back on the computer and let's just bring it around the corner here and just reprint it and stuff like that. Where a waxer or finisher, it's going to be another 6-hour process to do it over and to go through burnout, waxing. But it's changed a lot. We still do a lot of old school, a lot of lost wax technique, but more so than not, we're doing more and more with our scanners and stuff like that. But it's a neat thing. But you gotta move, embrace change, and a lot of labs don't. And it's hard for the small labs to stick around with the technology, and it's so darn expensive. And I feel for them. A lot of labs, when I start off in like 84, there's like over 20,000 laboratories. And right now in North America, I think there's less than 7,000. And of those 7,000, 6,950 of them are like 3-man and under, and there's only a few bigger commercial labs but it's just, it's sad that a lot of those lab guys, because there's so much talent that these people had, because you did it all by hand. Everything was a handmade masterpiece. And nowadays it's getting to the point to where you can design it professionally, but then you need technical skills to really finish it, to grind them in, to make sure things are going properly. Curve of speed, curve of Wilson's. You need to know about function and excursions and all that good stuff. But it's really kind of neat. It's been a fun ride for me, and as I see it evolve in the future, my children are really these techie kids, on the dang, interweb and all that social media stuff. And they're all into that stuff, man. And we're kind of like, well, we got to adapt to it. But I'm still kind of I like the old school, let's keep it the old way, but you got to keep moving. But, well, tell me, Dr. Taddy, then what made you move from New York to California? What was that all about? How'd you come about to that decision?
It was lifestyle. I decided that, I'd rather bring up my children in California. And I actually, growing up in New York, I knew a lot of people who always wished, woulda and coulda and shoulda moved to Florida, which was the big thing at the time, to get out of the cold weather and all of that. And I can remember being very young and deciding I wasn't going to be one of those people that look back when I was 50 or 60 and decide that, gee, I wish I had moved.
Yeah.
So my wife, luckily, agreed with me, and we had Tracy. She was maybe 2 or 3 years old, and we were looking for places to move to. I thought of Puerto Rico, I thought of Hawaii, and I thought of California.
No kidding.
So we decided on California, and then we saw La Jolla, and we said, okay, that's it. That's where I'm opening my practice. Didn't know anybody here. Funny, when I joined the California Dental Association back then, they asked me to have 2 California dentists sign on for me, my character and things. And I called them up and told them I didn't know 2 California dentists. So they said, okay, let 2 New York licensed dentists vouch for you. So I did that.
Oh,
and then I opened the practice and started meeting people.
Can you believe that?
It worked out well.
That's a leap of faith, man. Now, were there orange fields and everything else back there at that time, or just palm trees and just La Jolla, man? That was what a gem of a place, man, to end up at.
It was kind of a closed-ish community, but we just had UCSD move in a number of years before, so it was getting a more not urban, but cosmopolitan feel to it.
Yeah.
We have a lot of professors and a lot of biochemistry and a lot of biotech down here. So it was becoming a very interesting, bright community with a lot of cultural things. So it worked out very well.
Well, dude, tell me about when you moved to California. Did you open your own practice, or did you work under someone to start off? Or
I tried to negotiate to buy a practice of a dentist that was failing right here in La Jolla. And it didn't work out. He decided he wanted to try and keep it. So I opened up my practice basically across the courtyard from him. And like I said, I contracted with a general contractor to build it. I was dealing with Patterson back then.
Okay.
And I flew back to New York, sold my practice, had them building the thing while I was coming out, shipped out some equipment, and flew back out about 4 or 5 months later and opened the doors and started saying hi to people.
Can you believe that?
And it worked out.
Yeah.
Joined everything I could, got known, and yeah.
Oh, yeah, man. You look like
New York style aggression.
Yeah, I love it, man. Yeah, and you see yourself, you look like one of those Hollywood, New York movie stars or down here. I mean, you're a stylish dude, man, for sure. So tell me about that practice. What kind of layout was that? Couple ups? How was it on that first one? What was the layout of that practice? And tell me a little bit about that.
Well, the practice was small practice. We had probably 5 operatories. We started out, of course, small with 1 front office, 1 assistant, and a hygienist. And we've always kept it to that, pretty much that kind of personalized service. And I did that for 35 years or so, 40 years, and then Tracy joined me. And then recently we moved from that office over here to our new office, which has a spectacular view and a beautiful working space. We have relatively new equipment here, and
yeah, it's beautiful.
Yeah, nice staff. So we still try to keep it very manageable, high quality, boutique in the sense that we try to take care of the patients, but not boutique in the sense that we follow all the different funny ups and downs that dentists try to sell.
Yep, the flavor of the month. You guys aren't into that, and that's good. I love that. That's for sure.
Yeah.
Now, tell me some of the do's and don'ts in your practice. Are you doing most of your endo? Are you referring out that? Are you doing any ortho? Tell me what you do and what you don't want to do.
Well, I used to do a lot of endo myself, but I don't anymore for a couple of reasons. But the main reason is I think the endodontist field has gotten a lot better.
Yes, absolutely.
A lot more technical, like everything else, between the knowledge, the microscopes, the various things that they do, the x-ray machines and the 3D imaging, all of that. So I didn't think I could do as nice a job anymore. So I only do it occasionally.
Okay.
So that I don't do. We don't see hardly any partials or dentures anymore.
Yeah.
Everything now is an implant if there's a missing space, and everyone seems to go for it.
That's amazing. Now, is that because you wrote a book, TMJ, the Self-Help Program book. Tell me a little bit about that. What made you want to do that, and how'd that go for you? Well,
back in the 80s and 90s, it was quite a topic. It's like one of those things that come and a lot of folks recognize it and have the problem. So I decided to write a self-help book for folks patients to understand what's going on and how to self-help themselves, because a lot of the folks in Texas and down south and other places that aren't urban didn't have any doctors around that knew much about this so that they could help themselves. And we sold quite a few. We were in we're in all the libraries. I think we're still in the libraries across the country, copies of the book.
No kidding.
And we were selling all over the country. Wow. Surprised me. We sold a lot in Texas and Arkansas. Well, my particular way of dealing with this, as well as others, has to do following the treatments recommended by Weldon Bell, who was one of the real pioneers who put a medical orthopedic sensibility to treating temporomandibular disorders. And it downplays a lot the occlusion that we have a focus on in dentistry, because we as dentists know a lot about occlusion. That's the easiest thing for us to go to in treating this. And it a lot of times has nothing to do with the pain or the misfunction. We'll talk about it, Sean, one day when I get up there with you.
Okay.
And be interesting.
Well, I'd love to. Heck, let's videotape it, man. We'll do it a little lunch and learn, because I would love to hear that, because a lot of our dentists love to hear, good practical advice. So I'm sure you have a really good thing to say about that. So that's awesome. So tell me, going forward on this, how do you drive patients to your practice there? Are you doing the social media thing at all, or do you do what kind of marketing do you do for some of our newer doctors? I know it's tough everywhere to get patients, but what are you guys kind of doing to try to drive them to your practice?
We try with Instagram and Facebook, and we do things like that. Okay. And we do get some patients with it. We're not that strong in those particular modalities. Mm-hmm. We do a lot internal marketing, referring from other patients and things like that. We do a newspaper ad every 3 weeks.
Oh, okay.
In our local newspaper. And that's about it.
No kidding. That's amazing. Yeah. I mean, because you guys are you're a big account. I mean, you guys do a lot of work. I mean, you're doing the gamut too. You do small onesie twosies, the implants to full rehabs. And that's just really awesome to see your daughter really just crushing it with some of these bigger rehabs now. Just to see her from 3 or 4 years that we've started working together now, it's just amazing, just to see her, grow in that department, because I always said, if you can do a 3-unit bridge, you can do 15 units, or, you can do 10, 12 units. It's just the confidence and just getting it down, working close with your lab and stuff. But she's really come a long way, and that's just awesome. I mean, just seeing your brother's case, what she did, I mean, that was a really neat case, and I just thought it just turned out great, man. we need to get more roundies in that office for you guys.
Yeah, well, I tell you, like I said, I mean, she'd been doing some things, but what really set her up with the system that she uses now in order to do that many upper and lowers in an organized way in 3 weeks of separate appointments, that she learned coming to your over the shoulder.
Yeah.
I mean, I give you guys a lot of thanks and credits for that.
Well, man, it's just stuff that works.
Plus, she's pretty talented.
Yeah, she is, because we've shown that course to a lot of doctors, but it's just, you got to be able to bring it home and then, to make it happen. But no, and it's just, she's such your daughter's so pretty and everything. She reminds me of like a fashion designer or something. If you didn't know her and the way she dresses and everything.
She used to be an associate editor at Elle magazine in New York when she was living back there in training.
Oh, you're kidding. No wonder.
That has always been an interest.
Yeah, because she's just so beautiful. And you wouldn't know she's a dentist or anything. You think she's like in the fashion industry. And then she's in there. She's freaking doing roundies, upper lowers, full rehabs, and just, smiling and just, she probably makes the patients feel at ease. She's a real gentle soul, and that's just awesome, man. That is so neat.
Yeah, she really does.
So what about some of the technological advancements in the field? Do you think you guys might get into maybe imaging x-rays or anything out, digital x-rays or impression taking?
Well,
what do you think going
digital
forward?
x-rays are standard now. I mean, that you have to do. I mean, the tanks and all of that stuff, that's foolish. You can't adjust the film to lighten or darken or retake. I mean, if you're in any kind of a practice other than getting ready to retire, you got to get the new stuff.
Yeah.
Other than that, I mean, scanning is very nice. We tried
was it Itero?
doing the crowns in the office.
Okay,
ourselves, and that didn't work too well. Didn't fit our way of doing business. And it also, the crowns didn't come out that damn good. I think we took them all out.
It looked like
it was a pain in the ass.
Yeah, it's tough, man. It takes some time.
And I found out that a lot of people had returned all those equipments, and that's only about 7 or 8 years ago.
Yeah.
I mean, they had a lot of returns.
Yeah, and a lot. Then they said, no, you can't return them, man. You own them. So now everyone's got a lot of dust on them. But there's guys going to Go ahead.
I threw one out, my last one, a year or two ago. I couldn't give it back. I couldn't sell it.
Yeah.
It wasn't worth crap. And
but it cost you $150.
I threw it in the garbage.
Oh, man. I know. I'm going through some of my equipment here, and it's just like, man, my first mills, my first CAD/CAM machine, everything. It's just like, they're not worth anything, man. We got these companies come in, we'll sell them for you, but we get 50%, but it's 50% of nothing practically. But, hey, it's tough. That's why we don't like to get on board anything new coming out. I mean, especially as a business owner, I just find at the beginning of my career, I'd try buy everything and just think, oh, it's going to help so much. And it's like that VHS and beta, just, man, I wish I would have held off and, without, but, live and learn. But yet dentists are pretty frugal, and they're just, they don't like putting money out unless you're going to get a good return on it. And I understand that. And, the CERECs, they work great for a lot of doctors, and some it just doesn't fit, and it's just something. It's an expensive thing to learn. If you're not really.
Some doctors are great with it.
Oh yeah.
But most of us, I don't think are.
Yeah.
I mean, when I see crowns, I can often tell if they were made in office.
Yeah. And back then,
I mean, you got to have a staining, all kinds of things.
Oh, yeah. You got to have your own ovens. You got to put secondary anatomy in it because it's not a 5-axis. It's not doing that kind of, secondary anatomy and all that.
Yeah.
And then sometimes.
And I was never any good at being a technician anyway.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, in dental school, I got advice from one of the instructors. They told me I better get a good lab technician when I get out.
I know.
That's what he told me 50 years ago.
They told me the same thing. He said, you better go into dentures, man, because you can't wax worth a crap. And I'm like,
yeah, there you go.
I'm telling you. I go, my brother's a dentist. He goes, well, you better work for him because you're not looking too good. And then when I get done with my dental technology school, I call my brother, and he goes, Sean, I'm not even doing general dentistry, I'm doing endodontics now, so I really don't need your help. I'm like, what the heck? I can't work this. I'm no good. And then what am I gonna do? So go work for Glidewell, learn how to wax. It's like,
there you go.
Oh man,
that was quite a thing.
Oh, that was
when Glidewell came on.
I could have went to 10,000 different labs in Southern California, and I happened to go to him, and he only had 50 people at the time, and it was a place to learn, man. I learned on all those dentists, all those short margins. I learned every trick to get that margin to close because we all did. It was just it was the wild, wild west back in 1984. And
we held off. I never thought I'd do mail order lab.
Yep.
I mean, from back then, the reputations were so bad.
Yeah.
And the deliveries and all that kind of thing.
Yeah.
And, and then you'd have a lot of adjustments and remakes.
Yep.
Back then with that technology, now there's hardly any.
Oh, I know. We have like 1% remake company-wise. Kind of crazy. It's just so predictable. But, Yeah, it was amazing what he did back then. He started in 1970, and when I came to work for him 14 years later, he was the master of direct mail, and of mail order for a dental lab. And like he always said, he goes, yeah, it's kind of neat because we're not right next to the doctor's office. So if we mail it out to them and it's less than perfect, more so than not, they're going to try to get it in the mouth because they don't want to send it back. And I'm thinking, well, that's not real good to think, but it's kind of true in a way, that, it's just, it's neat. I could have went to a lot of different guys, and I'm thankful that, at the end of the day, I went there because I learned so much in the 16, 17 years.
Quality control is bottom line in mail order.
Yeah, it's so important. And you can't be a mail order dental lab and be in business very long unless you're successful at what you do, because there's so many options for dentists out there. And your first
you're really cheap.
Yeah, you got to go to the bottom on cost. And then, the doctors, I'm getting it for $40. But you know what, dude? It's nothing to brag to mom about or sleep well at night on some of the stuff and what they're using to make it. But then again, some of them are getting better. But at the end of the day, you just
are they still sending to China?
Yeah, there's
or the Philippines.
Probably 40 to 50% of our stuff is all going over to Vietnam. I mean, I was just online the other day watching on Facebook, and there's these guys talking about this great special, and it's from this lab, and blah blah blah, and it's like $44 with your, and I'm like, what the heck? Who is this? And it's like, it's a man's name, and then it's like at the end of the day, it's like, you know what? That's Trident Lab, man. That's going to Vietnam, and it's just like they try to rebrand it, just like kind of like Glidewell does. Yeah. He has so many labs out there that hey, you're not going to use my lab, but I'm going to send you 12 different publications from all my other labs, and we're going to get you to use this, because sometimes people don't want to use it because of a name or past problems, so they try to put a different name in there. But at the end of the day, man, you just try to take pride in your work and try to, do the good thing, treat people right, and, put it in the mouth.
Yep. You have to figure that you're putting something in a biologic person. It's supposed to hopefully last as long as possible, if not all their life.
Yes.
And to screw around with a few dollars less is stupid.
Yeah, I think you should make it up somewhere else if you can, maybe on that assistant. No, I'm just saying it's important. And I got so many guys that work with me for so many years, and they stay with me because they know we work together good, and they get solicited, I'm sure, a lot. But at the end of the day, man, your chair time's so important. I mean, it's $300 to $500 an hour if someone's in that chair or not. And if you really calculate everything, you're trying to scrimp and cut in corners in certain areas. I think lab work is so important to the success of a dental office. And it's just so many guys that'll bounce from lab to lab and use these 4 different labs because they're 4 different, things that they like. And that's okay and everything, but it's good to hunker down with someone kind of like your own dry cleaner or something. After you get them to get it down right, you don't want to change, because they know your ways and how you like things. And so it's a beautiful problem to have as a dental lab. But we have so many doctors that have never tried us, and so we haven't pissed them off. So when they do find where they need a lab and they do try us, we got to deliver, man, and we do. And it's like, yay, we're so excited. But well, hey,
you did with us. I mean, I'm the most skeptical guy about things like that, and you won us over. You do almost all of our work.
Oh, I know. I thank you so much. I remember first time we met, and it was, I think, on an over the shoulder you came out, and we've been doing our work together ever since. And it's just awesome, dude. Well, I can't thank you enough. But hey, I know you're so busy, and I just can't thank you enough for coming on this podcast, man. Any final advice you give to anyone starting off? Maybe do's and don'ts for some of the newer people starting off?
Yeah, get a good lab.
Drop the mic, baby.
Concentrate on the patient.
Exactly.
Being on this podcast, I'd say, they should give you guys a try if they have any question. There's really no doubt about your quality. And I mean, if they're not happy, sure you'd refund anything they spend.
Oh, absolutely.
It's not that big a deal.
No, it's more important things in life. But yeah, it's just working together. But no, thank you so much for that. And just thank you for just all that you do and your support here. And thank you for your beautiful daughter and all the work you guys send. And hey, here's to another 20, 30 years of making beautiful restorations, baby.
There you go.
All right.
Should be fun.
Well, thank you.
I enjoy sending the finished cases photos back to you so your technician can see what they're actually doing rather than just looking at a model.
Oh, and they do. These have been printed out. They're on the floor. We had them in the wall in our lunchroom. We have different cases that doctors send in, and they love it. They love to see that, and it just makes them feel so good. And especially too when you guys even come to some of these different programs we have, when the technician can see the dentist and say, "Oh, these are the tatties right here," and "Oh, yes," and it's just kind of neat talking with them. And we're pretty close. We're only an hour away, and it's just kind of a neat thing. So we'll have you out again, I'm sure, real soon. And again, Dr. Taddy, I can't thank you enough for your time today and just all that you do here. And God bless you and your family, man. And if there's anything we can ever do, please let us know for sure.
You too. I'll see you in a while.
All right, Dr. Taddy, thanks again, and we'll talk to you real soon.
Okay, bye, Sean.
Bye-bye.
Thanks for joining us on the Dental Up Podcast Show this week. Make sure to follow us on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter, or search the Dental Up Podcast on iTunes for our weekly feed. Don't forget to visit KeatingDentalArts.com/promo for exclusive offers. Keating Dental Arts is a full-service dental laboratory, and we're nationwide. We'd love for you to send us a case so we can show you the Keating difference. If you dig what you heard, please leave a review on iTunes, and we'll be back next week.